This movie is primarily made for Ingvar Haraldsson, to help him understand the situation. They are telling us that our planet is warming up, and that the humans are to blame. But is that correct? They are also telling us that all of world science agree on this. But are they telling us the truth? We are often being presented with a graph that display the years 1180 to 2000. In that short perspective, it seems to be that we, the humans, are to blame for the rising temperature curve. But is that the correct picture? What does it look like in a longer period of time? We can now clearly see that this is a frequent event on planet Earth. And it has happened so far back as we have the ability to see in the ice core. How can anyone believe that it is possible to understand the situation over a period of 120 years? In a wider perspective, it is ridiculous. When we look at this graphs a little closer, we can clearly see that the temperatures always comes first, and that makes the problem easier to solve. The warming comes first, and that heat up the permafrost in Siberia and Canada, and that makes the carbon dioxide peak in the graphs. There is no records of the opposite. It seems correct that we have a peak in carbon dioxide right now, but no one really knows why. Humans are probably a part of it, but is it the main reason? The solid Earth contains a huge quantity of carbon, far more than is present in the atmosphere or oceans. Some of this carbon is slowly released from the rocks in the form of carbon dioxide, through vents at volcanoes and hot springs. There is not now, nor has there ever been, any scientific evidence proving mankind has affected the climate on a global scale. Our media and scientific community tell us otherwise. But here's the truth. The hypothesis of man-caused global warming is based almost entirely on computer modeling that are quite simply a bad scientific joke. However, that has not stopped politicians from pouring hundreds of millions in taxpayer-funded grants to unethical scientists to keep the scam going. The result is continued impoverishment of the poor, a declining standard of living for the middle class, and greater empowerment of the ruling class.
I think it's really important that no suspicion or shadow fall on the foremost advocates of climate change legislation, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of clear the air about your motives and maybe set the record straight for some of your former constituents. And I've got an article from October 8th, New York Times Magazine, about a firm called Kleiner Perkins, a capital firm called Kleiner Perkins. Are you aware of that company?
Well, yes, I'm a partner at Kleiner Perkins.
So you're a partner in Kleiner Perkins. Okay. Now, they have invested about $1 billion in 40 companies that are going to benefit from cap and trade legislation. So is the legislation that we are discussing here today, is that something that you are going to personally benefit from?
I believe that the transition to a green economy is good for our economy and good for all of us. And I have invested in it, but every penny that I have made, I have put right into a nonprofit, the Alliance for Climate Protection, to spread awareness of why we have to take on this challenge. And Congresswoman, if you believe that the reason I have been working on this issue for 30 years is because of greed, you don't know me.
No, sir, I'm not making accusations. I'm asking questions.
I'd like to take the opportunity of wishing the East European cities well in the coming of the very early skiing season. and snow and ice that's come there, well, of course, is indicative of the fact that, as independent science has now confirmed, that the globe is actually cooling and has been cooling since 2002, broadly flat since 1998. We're all talking about something here which isn't happening. I've heard time and time again members here talk of CO2 as a pollutant. A pollutant is a life-giving natural gas. It gives me the impression that some of our members haven't had the benefit of a formal education. Isn't this really just about the state being able to get its hand in ordinary people's trouser pocket to steal yet more tax from them? Isn't this all about political control? Isn't all this about politics and big business? The whole thing's a sham. This bogus hypothesis, this ridiculous nonsense that man-made CO2 is causing global warming. Enough, please, before we damage irrevocably the global economy.
Dziękuję bardzo.